The instinct in me is to tell some kind of joke when I'm up here on a stage like this. I'm going to spare you guys. My kids will thank you. Again, Brent Shepherd, Executive Director for Big Brothers Big Sisters in Peterborough. I've been here just a little over a year, and I'm enjoying it so far, especially the community. It didn't take me long to get used to Peterborough. It reminds me of a big small town almost, and so I'm really pleased. Thank you so much for taking the time. I'm thanking you in advance for listening to me. But when I was thinking about what I was going to talk about today, I could get into the details on statistics. I could talk about the impacts in a kind of cerebral way, but I think the best is to really talk about stories. And when I was thinking about it, I thought about myself and when did I begin to really get an understanding of what mentoring is? And I might not have called it mentoring. If you don't know what we do, we're a mentoring organization. We link positive, caring adults with kids and provide them with consistent, positive influence. And one of the first experiences I had, and I was thinking this memory came to my mind. My father would sometimes take me to work and with him, and I was just a little guy, probably about 4 even. And I remember one of the adults there, when I would be playing with my little toys, or I'd have a little figure that I was playing with, would always take time and stop what he was doing, come over to me and talk to me about what I was doing. And then he would not only take time, he would see what I was doing, and if I had a little figure, he would come up with something. He'd say, well, let's make a parachute for it, or let's make a track for your car. And so he took what I was interested in, and then he built on it. And that came to my mind because I thought, that's a lot of what we do. And I looked forward to seeing him every time I went to my dad's office. And it's a lot of what we do. It's really taking what the kids are already interested in, helping expand their world, and making it fun. And so, when I think about those moments, and how early and how impactful that was, to this day, I still remember Ray, and I still remember those moments. I think about what we do on a day-to-day basis. And as I think about that, I want to help you understand it at a level of, like, when you hear the word mentoring, I don't know what comes to your mind when you think mentoring. Sometimes for me, I know there was times when I thought of mentoring, I thought, man, I want to find a mentor. Maybe you had someone in your life that mentored you, whether in your business or whether just in your life, someone that had a positive influence in your life. Well, for me, I think a lot of the images, and one of the images that comes to my mind is of flowers and vegetables. So you think, flowers and vegetables, okay, what is that all about? Well, although our programming is open to any kid between 6 and 16 to 18, what we find is that a lot of the kids that are engaged with our organization are facing a lot of adversities, whether it's financial insecurity or housing insecurity, food insecurities. Some have witnessed some tragedy in their life, some pretty big challenges. And I would consider that, kind of like weeds in their life. It's stressful, they're difficult, and those get planted in their life, whether they like it or not. Someone's planting those in their life, or they get planted in their life. Us as an organization, I kind of see us and our volunteers, our wonderful volunteers, as gardeners. They plant flowers. They put positive things in their life that bring some beauty, something to look forward to. And also nourishment, some vegetables, some things that they can see and they can hold on to that can help strengthen them as they continue to face some of the challenges they face. At no point do we ever expect any of our volunteers to start pulling weeds out of these kids' lives. Sometimes it's just too much. We can't expect it. That's why we have a community. That's why we have a lot of different services and different organizations, wonderful organizations in our community to help in those areas. We are about planting flowers, and vegetables. Now, thankfully, it's not an actual garden because I would be lost. I really stink at gardening. I joke that my gardening is done with a lawnmower. That's how I do my gardening. So, when we think about how mentoring can feel like this big thing, but really, like Ray, the guy that influenced me early, that I didn't even think about it as I was being mentored, he had that positive, consistent influence on my life based on the interests that I had. And it wasn't difficult for him. And I can tell you right now, he wasn't trying to impart some big philosophy let's make a parachute and I can talk about physics with you. He didn't have a degree. In fact, later on, as I grew up and began to know him more, he got a secondary, he started to go into college later in life, and he brought that to the relationship. He would show me how he would carve. He was into he started a degree in becoming a chef, and how he would carve an apple and make it look like a swan, and he wanted to show that to me, and I was interested. It was exciting. So it was these powerful moments, and they don't have to be radical. They don't have to impart a lot of wisdom. It's consistent and positive, and it makes such a profound difference. The power of mentoring can be illustrated this way. One of the stories that I have been telling recently is about we call the bigs and littles. So our bigs are our mentors, littles are our kids that are involved. There was one that came to us, call her Elle, and she came to us years ago, and was having some pretty big challenges that she was having in her life and around her, some mental health challenges with her family, and was becoming very difficult. The CES had to come in and give her some time away from the family for a little while, and when she came to us, there was a lot of really big challenges in her life, and we had a wonderful volunteer named Elizabeth who was matched with Elle, and they started out like any other match relationship where they would connect with each other every week, and through that consistency, when Elle was struggling in school, Elizabeth was there just to help provide her with some guidance and choices, help her understand what choices she had. When she needed to understand going to her first dance, and Elizabeth was there to help her. When she needed to learn how to drive, Elizabeth was there to give her some time to practice with her vehicle. When she was going to the prom, and she started to like boys and had a boyfriend, and now we supported that match and that relationship for years. Once our support of that relationship concluded, and she's continuing on, they continued their relationship, and she's headed off to college, and Elizabeth was there the whole time. She wasn't there living with Elizabeth, she just was there. And Elle knew that if she needed someone, and she could count on them, and knew that if she needed someone to talk to, Elizabeth was a safe place and a wonderful person to be able to unpack her thoughts and ideas. And who knows where Elle would have been if it wasn't for Elizabeth. And Elizabeth's wonderful. She's now back in the organization and mentoring someone else. So I wouldn't be an executive director if I didn't say that we need your help. All of these wonderful things that can happen, they don't just happen. Obviously, that a successful business, it doesn't just become a success because someone thought about it. It's a lot of hard work and dedication by a lot of wonderful people. And I was just sharing briefly before I came up here how this year I'm working to understand at a deeper level the history and the network of all the people that sacrificed their time and energy beyond the staff. So the volunteers, the history of volunteers, the history of boards, people that are on the board of directors and engaged in a variety of ways and made sacrifices and really worked hard and were dedicated to help ensure that we can reach as many kids as possible. I was asked before, and I'm asked quite fairly regularly, what's the challenge? What are the challenges that you face? And the need is very high. We have a wait list right now of kids that are waiting for a traditional mentoring match, but the need is far greater than just those that have engaged our programming to this point. We don't go out and say, hey, you want to be a part of our programming? They just keep coming. If we ever did that, I'm sure it would be far greater than we could ever handle on our own. We have a small but mighty team. It's been that way for a long time. I want to try to do the best I can to not only make sure that the organization is healthy, but help it grow. We want to try to reach as many kids as we can. We're an interventionist organization. We intervene at a critical time in kids' lives that help set a very positive foundation that will help them in years to come. So some of the ways that we do that, most of you, if you know Big Brothers Big Sisters, you understand about Big Brothers Big Sisters. You will have an understanding of the mentoring, how we match bigs and littles, and we do that in a community setting. So they're matched, we support them, especially that first year. We're following up with the family, and we're following up with the volunteer often, and there's training involved, and we make sure that everything's going well. Want to make sure that that first year is very critical. We continue to follow up with them after that as well. And but they go out and they do fun things together, and they go in the community, and part of the way that that's like the main piece that most people think about, but we also have other things that we do as well. So one of the other arms of Big Brothers Big Sisters that has grown is our in-school mentoring. And so not everyone knows that we do in-school mentoring. That's actually how I got my start years ago. I volunteered. I was like, I wanted to be involved in the community. I didn't have a lot of time because I was working, and I talked to my boss, and I was able to take my lunch once a week for an hour. And I would go into a school, and I connected with a young boy. We played sports together, made some crafts, and hung out. And I was just a little bit of that breather that he needed in school once a week, that something he could look forward to that was just for him. So we do this in school, one hour a week, and it's not holidays or the summer. I was starting a young family, and I wanted something that could fit. And it was wonderful. And it makes such a profound impact, just showing up every week, something consistent, something positive, and we do that. It's one of the things that we do. Not everyone knows about that. And so the other is in the school as well. We do group mentoring. So we have a couple of programs that we run to do group mentoring as well. And when someone says, okay, so the natural question is, okay, so how do I help? Well, one, obviously volunteer. That's a great thing to do in a variety of ways. Not everyone is ready to volunteer. Not everyone. There are lots of different reasons why people can or can't volunteer. But then I talk about the other way, obviously, is giving. And it doesn't have to be a big amount. It can be something really small. Financially, it makes a big difference. We don't charge for anything. Obviously, it makes sense if these kids are struggling with a lot of different things. For us to charge them to be a part of a mentoring program doesn't make a whole lot of sense. So everything we do is funded by hustling for grants, by connecting with business leaders, by talking with people personally about donating towards the work that we do. And so every donation matters. So you can donate obviously online like most places have. So volunteering, donating, but the other way you can help, if you're thinking, oh, you know what, this is great, it's good work that you do, the other way you can help is something that not everyone thinks about, but we all intuitively know makes a difference. If you are a part of a business or you run a business, how many know what word of mouth can do for your business? Right? It makes a big impact, both in the positive and in the negative. So even if you are struggling to find the time or thinking about how maybe you can volunteer, or if you have a challenge with knowing how much to give or when to give, or you feel like maybe you can give a little bit, but it's not going to be enough, you can always promote the work that we do. You can always talk a good game about what we do and how. And if you don't know and you want to understand a little bit more about what we do, please obviously reach out to me, and you can help me on my journey of, if you know people that were involved in the organization in years past, that have been on a board, that have served as a volunteer, and are connected to other people in town, turn them my way, send them my way. This year especially, I'm building that engagement and stronger network of who was a part of the fabric that really helped us support so many kids over the years. So I'm not sure how you want to play this out. If you want to ask any questions, or if anyone has any questions, I'm happy to answer those for you too.